What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Clemson Tigers are up next. Clemson coming off a bit of a disappointment last year in 2023. They were 9-4 last year, so lost 4 games in the regular season, which doesn't really happen very often for Clemson, but it was just overall a very disappointing season, to say the least, for Clemson fans and, for Clemson football. To be honest, my thoughts on this team for 2024. Once again, this team's going to have a very talented roster. You look at the offensive side of the football. Cade Klubnik will be back at quarterback. But again, that offense, is a concern. It seems like every single year now. They just have not been the same kind of explosive offense in 4 years now. Maybe 3 years, because they haven't been that same kind of explosive offense since Trevor Lawrence was there. But defensively, I think they're going to be really good on that side of the football. Even though they lost a lot of talent from last year, the defense still overall should be very good. So let's get to the schedule now here for 2024. This is the schedule for Clemson. Again, they were 9-4 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Clemson Tigers for 2024. First game of the season, of course, is against Georgia here on August 31st in week number 1. Of course, this game is going to be in Atlanta. We saw the game time for this one. It's a noon Eastern time game, which I really think it's not a good time for this one, but it is what it is. And I've already done my Georgia video a couple weeks ago. I did say Georgia ever since the early offseason has been the better team. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. I think Georgia definitely is the better team. They have a lot of production coming back, and their offense is just going to be really good. But I think Clemson has a really good enough defense to keep Georgia's offense from scoring a lot of points. I think it will be a low-scoring type game. First half, I think it's really close, but I think second half Georgia's going to pull away. So with that being said, I think Georgia does beat Clemson here. And again, I've already chosen Georgia a couple weeks ago. So I think Clemson starts out 0-1 here on the season, and then after that they'll play Appalachian State here on September 7th. This is not going to be an easy game either for Clemson. Appalachian State is one of the top teams out of the Sun Belt, and definitely one of those top group of 5 teams in the history of college football. They're known for pulling off upsets. They almost did it in the last couple years against North Carolina. One time at their home place, they almost won that game in a big shootout, and then of course last year lost to North Carolina in overtime. So this won't be an easy one for Clemson, but I think Clemson definitely is a very talented team, more than North Carolina was in the last couple years. I think Clemson probably pulls away in the second half. It's close in the first half, but I like the Tigers in this one. I just don't see them losing at home to a non-conference team in Appalachian State. So I think Clemson does win this one, and that puts their record here at 1-1. And then after that, they'll get a bye week here rather early before playing NC State here on September 21st to open up conference play. I think NC State's going to be pretty good this year. They could be a dark horse contender and definitely a top 25 team out of all the ACC teams coming up this year. But, Clemson is playing at home in this game. Maybe this game's like the Appalachian State game. It's close in the first half, but I think second half the Tigers probably will pull away. So I think Clemson does win this one. I think they're definitely the more better team here, even though NC State could be a decent team. So I got Clemson getting that win, and I think they improved to 2-1 here on the season. And then after that, they'll play another home game against Stanford on September 28th. Of course, one of the newcomers coming up in the ACC this year. I don't think Stanford's going to be that really good this year. Even though they're heading into a new conference, they could be a little bit more competitive than they were last year. But Clemson definitely is the more talented team, plus they're playing at home. I think the Tigers get this one, get a win here. I think they win this one fairly easily. Definitely, more fairly easily than that NC State game. So I think Clemson does beat Stanford here, and that puts their record here at 3-1. Next game is on the road here at Florida State on October 5th. This will be the first true road game here for Clemson if you count that neutral site game against Georgia. But Florida State going to be another good team this year. I mean, obviously this is going to be like a homecoming game for Clemson. They're going up against their former quarterback in DJ Oagale. So this will be a very interesting type of game. I've already done my Florida State video from last Friday, and I did choose the Seminoles to win this game, basically just because of home field advantage. I mean, it really comes down to, a back-and-forth game here, but, home field advantage might favor the difference in this one in a close, low-scoring type game. But I'm going to go with Florida State here. This is a revenge revenge game here for Clemson. They lost last year in Death Valley to this Florida State team. They could definitely return the favor and beat Florida State on their home turf, but I'm going to go with Florida State here just because of the home field advantage, and I think they give Clemson their second loss here of the season, so that puts Clemson's record now at 3-2. And then after that, they'll play Wake Forest here on the road on October 12th, so they got back-to-back road games here with Florida State and Wake Forest. I think they start off slow in this Wake Forest game in the first half. I think it probably is a close game. I think second half the Tigers will figure things out, and I think they probably pull away here in the second half against the Demon Deacons. I don't think Wake Forest is going to be that good this year. Don't really know how good they're going to be either way, but it is on the road, so you never know. An upset probably could happen here, but I think Clemson does pull away here in the second half, and I think they get a bounce-back win after that loss to Florida State, and that puts their record here at 4-2. And then after that, they'll play Virginia here at home on October 19th. I think Virginia is going to be a little bit better this year. They could be more competitive, maybe not make it to a bowl game, but they definitely probably could give some scares to some of these top teams in the ACC. But, Clemson is playing at home in this one. If this game was probably on the road, I definitely would probably, think it would be a close game in the first half, but I don't really see that happening. I think Clemson does win this one fairly easily against Virginia, and I think they beat Virginia here and get 2 wins in a row, and that puts their record here at 5-2. And then they get their second bye week here before playing a home game against Louisville on November 2nd. So this is going to be a huge game here between both of these teams. Both of these teams probably battling for a second place spot in the ACC and definitely for a spot in the ACC championship perhaps. But I think the ACC is wide open full of top teams in this conference. But you look at this matchup, Louisville was pretty good last year. They made it to the conference championship. They absolutely reloaded in the transfer portal. So yeah, this will be a really tough test here for Clemson, even though it's at home. But I think Clemson's going to be coming out fired up in this one. They get a bye week before playing this game, which I think is a really good spot for a bye week if you're a Clemson fan. So with that being said, I think Clemson's defense is the big story. I think their offense probably struggles in this game, but I think defensively Clemson is going to really keep, their offense in this game, and I think Clemson's defense gets the win here. So with Clemson being at home, it's a close game. I'm going to go with the Tigers, though. Again, I can't really go against Clemson here when they're playing at home in Death Valley, especially against a Louisville team that's potentially maybe a top 10, maybe top 15 team as well. So I got Clemson getting the win there, and that puts their record here at 6-2. And then after that, they'll play on the road here at Virginia Tech on November 9th. I think Virginia Tech's going to be really, really good this year. You look at this roster, a lot of production coming back. They have the most production coming back in the country. And again, I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Virginia Tech team. They definitely could be a team that could really pull off some upsets. Not saying they're going to make it to the conference championship, but again, this is a game that's definitely one of those upset alert type games. I've been kind of back and forth on this game. Virginia Tech with a lot of experience. Clemson has the talented roster, but I think Virginia Tech, playing at home, they do pull off the upset here in this one. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the Hokies here to give Clemson their third loss of the season. And plus, this game is in the month of November, and usually in the month of November we do see a lot of upsets. So I think Clemson does lose that game on the road, and that puts their record here at 6-3. And then after that, they'll play Pittsburgh here on the road as well on November 16th. So they got second back-to-back road games on this schedule. They'll play Pittsburgh here on the road. Pittsburgh wasn't really that great last year. Don't know how good they're going to be this year, even though they're one of the most consistent teams in the ACC. This game probably is like the Wake Forest game. I think it's a close game in the first half, but I think Clemson finds a way to win this one. They pull away in the second half, and they do bounce back after a loss to Virginia Tech the last week. So I think Clemson gets a bounce-back win here. That puts their record here at 7-3, and then they take care of business against the Seidel here on November 23rd, and that puts their record here at 8-3. And then the final game of the season is at home against South Carolina on November 30th. This will be a home game here for the Tigers. I always look forward to this rivalry matchup here between Clemson and South Carolina. It seems like the series has been really close these days. The games are a lot more competitive, but Clemson continues to dominate the series. Clemson beat, South Carolina last year on the road in a low-scoring type game. I think it's going to be another low-scoring type game. I think both defenses are pretty even. I do have some concerns about both offenses here for South Carolina and Clemson this year, but Either way, Clemson is playing at home in this one. I think they're definitely the more talented team. Plus, they got home field advantage in this game. That's the reason why I'm going to choose Clemson in this game to win their final game here of the regular season. But again, it's a low-scoring type game, but it is a rivalry game. You never know what can happen. We saw South Carolina a couple years ago defeat Clemson at Death Valley, so you never know. They could probably do it again. But again, I think I'm going to go with Clemson in that game. I got them winning their final 3 games here of the regular season. And again, I think they beat South Carolina here in the final game of the regular season. So my official prediction for Clemson is 9-3 for 2024, coming up just short of, once again, a 10-win season. But maybe they can make the ACC championship with that kind of record, and depending on what these standings look like at the end of the year, my standings videos. But again, that Georgia game is going to be a very tough game to start out the year. I don't really see them winning that game. I think Georgia probably wins that game, and then of course Florida State and Virginia Tech. If they win both of those games, they can probably go 11-1, but if they at least win one out of those 2 road games, they can definitely go 10-2. But my prediction for Clemson is 9-3 for 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this Clemson team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.